Welcome into this week's edition of the Recruiting Breakdown. My name is Gerry Hamilton, on the road in the Sunshine State. I'm currently in the Tampa area, going to hit a couple of high schools today, Wednesday, and through the week here in the Sunshine State. I'm going to be talking today about what's left on the 2025 board as far as positions go, some of those target guys, and a new offer who's already set up an official visit at the linebacker position. Before I get into that, specifically by position, I want to take a second for the sponsor of the Recruiting Breakdown. That's Mark Saunders, Texas All-State agent. Here, when it comes to protecting all your stuff, wouldn't it be great to have one place that protects it all? Here's some great news for you. Texas All-State agent Mark Saunders is serving the Austin and Round Rock area and all of Texas. He's the only insurance agent you'll need. Everything from your home, car, and boat to your motorcycle, RV, and ATV. Call Texas All-State agent Mark Saunders' office today at 512-218-8571. Are you in good hands? You'll be in great hands with the more than 35 years of experience of Texas alum Mark Saunders. Again, if you're looking for someone local to the Austin, Round Rock area or in the entire state of Texas, give Mark a call, 512-218-8571. Do what so many other On Texas Football family members have already done. That's call Mark Saunders. All right, so not a lot left on the board in 2025 for the Texas Longhorns staff. Signing day, what used to be signing day, we'll call it announcement day. December 4th is just 35 days away. It's going to get here quickly. The Texas staff will be back on the road Friday at the end of this off week. We'll see if they're in Dallas. If Sark's in Dallas, maybe out of state. He was in the Houston area during the last off week. We'll see where they go. As far as guys that are left, we're going to start on the defensive line today. Joseph Mbaktu, the former Florida commitment, who's coming down to Texas, USC, and Auburn, visited Michigan. Those are really the three top teams, though. Texas, USC, Auburn. We'll see if anybody else really jumps into this one. But Joseph Mbaktu out of Grayson High, teammate of Nick Brooks, is a guy that Kenny Baker and this staff are all in on. He's made 2 visits this year, one unofficially, then his official visit Georgia weekend. That was his father made the first visit with him, the unofficial. His entire family made the official visit the second weekend that Mbaktus were on campus in Austin. And Texas is right there. They're all in. This is a recruitment they want to win. The upside of this 4-star plus prospect is one of the best in the country. And he is a guy that's fast, with a fast riser with colleges all throughout the season. And that includes Texas. Again, Texas, USC, Auburn right now feel like the top 3. We'll see if Georgia, anybody else creeps into it late. Tennessee's also trying there with Joseph Mbaktu. Then it gets down to who can Texas get on campus in November that's going to be big. They had Chase Sims, the Texas A&M commitment, on campus for the Georgia game. We think that one may be a little tough for Texas to flip, but we'll see how this thing plays out in November with the season A&M's had and having right now. Then it gets back into the state of Georgia. I mean, really, it's Kevin Wynn and it's Walter Mathis. Kevin Wynn out of Greene County, Greensboro, Georgia, Greene County High. He made an official visit in June. His mom made that trip. His father did not. He ends up committing to Florida State, which was the favorite going into the June official visit process. Now, it's not really a question of if he's going to go to Florida State or not. We don't expect him to. The question is, where's he going to end up? Is it going to be USC on the West Coast? Where he visited earlier in the season? Is it going to be Georgia? Is that going to kind of be the compromise for the family? If you're not going to go to FSU, still stay close to home and go to Georgia? Or is Texas be able to get him back on campus in November? They did not successfully in October, but that's because they wanted both parents to make the trip. So, look, if both parents can't make the trip for work purposes or whatever, then Kevin Wynn will not be in the Texas class, in our opinion, on Texas football. Then it gets to Walter Mathis, the LSU commitment out of Calvary Day in Savannah. Again, after the hurricane, a couple of hurricanes that kind of went through in that area, that knocked back some travel plans along with the strike there that affected his family in terms of work and whatnot. We'll see if in November Walter Mathis and his family get on campus. Again, if they don't get on campus here early November, that one's not going to happen. Then you have Malcolm Simpson at Hitchcock High in the Houston area, Nebraska commitment. He was been on campus twice this season for unofficial visits. There's a chance Texas brings him back for an official visit here in November. We think that's one Texas will win if they make a push. So the question is going to be, where does that 3rd and 4th defensive line spot come from? at the high school level. You know Texas wants to sign 4. They have 2 committed, Myron Charles, Josiah Sharma. We'll have a 4-minute interview with Myron Charles to end the recruiting breakdown today. I was at Port Charlotte High yesterday for practice and had a chance to sit down with Myron. I think Texas fans will like to hear from Myron Charles, who looked tremendous, by the way, yesterday in practice. But we'll see where those other 2 high school D-line spots come from. And then there's going to be the portal that will also factor in next year for Texas. So moving on from defensive line, let's go to offensive line for a second. If Michael Fasusi or Lamont Rogers picked up the phone and said, Coach Flood, Sark had a change of heart, I think Texas would take either one of those guys. Not both, but one of them. Either one of them. We'll see. There's been some light communication with Michael Fasusi. We'll see where that goes with Texas here in the next month. With Lamont Rogers, I think that's more A&M for sure. He's been A&M multiple times this year. I think A&M's the favorite over Missouri, where he's committed right now. So then moving on from there, defensive back, Dorian Brew seems to be the corner Texas has the best shot with. He was on campus for the Georgia-Texas game, but he's an Oregon commitment, and Oregon's ranked number 1 in the country. Is there anything with the family at the end of the day that could keep him closer to home come December? That's what kind of we're watching for to see if anything transpires there. Cortland Guillory, defensive back, out of Klein Oak, committed to Oklahoma. He was on campus as well for the Texas-Georgia game. We'll see if Texas makes a November push there with Cortland Guillory. Obviously, Texas is still trying to stay in contact with Devin Sanchez, a couple of others, Naeem Offord, which has always been a long shot out of Birmingham Parker. But if those guys don't get on campus for the Florida or Kentucky game, it's just not happening. So we'll have to see what happens there with any potential November visits for defensive backs committed elsewhere. Texas also remains on Dijon Lee, the 4-star plus corner out of Mission Viejo, California, committed to Alabama. Again, Sark, they don't back off these top targets. We'll see. Dijon Lee had mentioned the C.J. Vogel earlier in the season. He might get on campus for a game this year. He hasn't been yet. Will it happen in November? We'll have to see, because that would be playoff time in Southern California. Then let's go to edge, because last Thursday I was at Cocoa High to see Javion Hilson. Javion Hilson, obviously, the one-time Alabama, then Florida State commitment, one of the top 50 prospects in the country. Javion Hilson since decommitting from Florida State's been considered the Texas lean. He's good friends with Myron Charles. He was here's the first 4 games huddle for senior year of Javion Hilson here, coming off the edge. Really good bend, great balance, good closing speed. Guy loves football, understands the stance. Look at that, explosive out of stance. But on the recruiting front, interesting development the last couple of weeks. He was at the Texas-Georgia game. Texas was considered the favorite, heavy favorite. Then he goes to A&M for the LSU game for an official visit. He goes to Syracuse this weekend for an official visit. And barring a change, this decision is going to come down to Texas versus Texas A&M for an edge prospect out of Cocoa, Florida. Who's ever heard of that before? Not me either. Never happened. That's now Texas and Texas A&M in the SEC battling for one of the top edge prospects in the country. The key there for Javion Hilson, after visiting with him for a long time, talking to the coaching staff at Cocoa High, is this. This is not going to be an emotional decision. There's been reports 3 weeks ago he's a heavy Texas lean. Then there's been reports since A&M, he's an A&M lean. This is not going to be an emotional decision about a singular football game. He's past the emotional decision point of this recruitment. He is a football business-oriented prospect. He watches more film than anybody at Cocoa High. He'll be watching video on the team bus coming home from a road game. He is a football-focused guy. And so it won't be about NIL. NIL is going to be good wherever he goes. This is going to be about a football decision. Where does he best think he can go maximize his ability? Could that be Texas with Kenny Baker, PK, who he's had the longer relationship with, seeing what Barron Sorrell's done through his career at Texas, and what Colin Simmons is doing as a freshman? Possibly. Could it now be A&M with their rise this season under Mike Elko, especially defensively? Does he see Nick Scourton going to the NFL draft after this season and saying, you know what, maybe I can do what he did. Maybe I can get on the field a little quicker at Texas A&M in that regard. So we'll have to see on Javion Hilson which way that goes, but everything feels like a Texas versus Texas A&M decision is coming up around December 4th, maybe a little earlier, for Javion Hilson, the top 50 prospect in the country, the edge out of Cocoa High. So that is D-line, offensive line, cornerback, and edge recruiting. Now it gets to the news of the day yesterday for the Texas Longhorns. Texas, Johnny Nance and the staff, Jeff Banks, sent out an offer on Tuesday, October 29th, for a fast-rising 2025 senior linebacker, Kellen Wiley. He's at Seffner Armwood High in the Tampa area, just east of Tampa. Here he is. This is his junior video. 6'3 and a half, 215, 220 pounds. This is at Hillsboro High as a junior, one of the top programs, long time, really talented program in the city of Tampa. He has since moved out or transferred to Armwood and Seffner, a little east of Tampa, for his senior season. This is a guy who's picked up offers since his senior season began from now Texas to go with Alabama, Miami, Louisville, Georgia Tech, and a couple of others. Sideline to sideline speed, rangy prospect, long arms. Again, 6'3 and a half, about 215, 220, triple jump of 43.7 to his credit. Racked up 82 tackles, a couple of sacks, and an interception as a junior, and is putting up big numbers and tremendous games as a senior for Armwood High. He hadn't put out any of his senior huddle yet, but luckily ontexasfootball.com has you covered with that. You can go head on over there for more on Kellen Wiley, because I was at Seffner Armwood practice on Wednesday afternoon. But again, Texas offers Kellen Wiley on Tuesday, the 29th. He is scheduled to visit Texas November 9th officially for the Florida game. Now, Miami's considered the favorite, the powerful in-state program right now. He also already made an official visit to Louisville. Then he'll make this official visit to Texas, and then it'll be up to Miami to beat out Texas, maybe a couple others for Kellen Wiley. But again, new offer yesterday at the linebacker position. What does that tell Texas fans? Madden Framo continues to trend more to Notre Dame over USC and Texas right now. There's a question if he'll get in November, possibly for the Kentucky game, but nothing set in stone right now. And then Riley Pettijohn was on campus, the Ohio State commit out of McKinney, was on campus for the Georgia game, but it doesn't look like Texas is making up enough ground right now. There's still 35 days to signing day, but then you see Texas come in and offer a really talented senior linebacker with as much upside about as anybody in the country at the linebacker position. So Texas, that's a good tell that Madden Framo continues to be a tough one for Johnny Nansen and the staff, even though they've done a great job recruiting him, and Riley Pettijohn flipping him. That one's still an uphill battle as well. So offer Kellen Wiley here, one of the best senior risers and linebackers in the country out of Seffner Armwood. Before we give way to the Myron Charles interview, which I conducted yesterday after the Port Charlotte practice, I want to take again a second for Mark Saunders, the sponsor of the Recruiting Breakdown. When it comes to protecting all your stuff, wouldn't it be great to have one place that protects it all? Here's some great news for you. Texas All-State agent Mark Saunders is serving the Austin and Round Rock area, along with the entire state of Texas. He's the only insurance agent you'll need. Everything from your home, car, and boat to your motorcycle, RV, and ATV. Do what so many other On Texas Football family members have done in the last couple of years. That's called Texas All-State agent Mark Saunders' office today. 512-218-8571. Again, that number is 512-218-8571. All right, guys. Well, I had a chance to sit down yesterday with Texas four-star defensive line commitment Myron Charles out of Port Charlotte High. Solidly committed to Texas. He has Texas decals on his helmet. You've seen those on my Twitter or on ontexasfootball.com. I posted that photo. But enjoy this interview with Myron Charles. Thank you very much for joining. Again, ontexasfootball.com for more on recruiting on an hour-to-hour, day-to-day basis. On Texas Football here at Port Charlotte High to talk to Myron Charles, four-star plus defensive lineman. Myron, just got done with practice. Kind of talk about your senior year and kind of where you've improved and your thoughts on your senior year so far.
I mean, it's excited. Throughout this offseason, I had the opportunity to go train with California Power. 5v5 team. That's learned a lot from them dudes. So I feel like that just helped me with my all-around game. You know, it's 5v5, so it's passionate. So I feel like that was weakest at, and now I'm so much more confident in it.
Yeah. And for the Texas fans that have never seen you in person like I have, tell everybody your height, weight, wingspan, all that good stuff so they know.
6'5", 300. Don't really know my wingspan, but
over 80, right?
It's definitely over 80. I think it's like 80. I don't know. I can't even
10.5-inch hands when they measure your hands. Okay. And talk about a little bit about
What is it that you love about football?
Just the physicality. I mean, also what it could do for you, like in life. Just everything about it, just love the game.
When did you realize that you love football and you could have a future in this game?
Pretty young age. I always been a little faster, bigger than everybody else. It's more physical than everybody else. I guess like that's what brought me so much joy with this game. You know, just throwing another man around. I realized pretty early that I could be decently good at this.
And so talk about, you were at the Texas-Georgia game, right? Kind of what was that atmosphere like? What were your thoughts? Obviously the game didn't go the way Texas won, but what were your thoughts just being there, the atmosphere of it all?
I was excited. Just being there, being meet up with future recruits, other D linemen, chatted up with them. I mean, just being around everybody. I mean, it was super loud. Defense played amazing. I think got like 3 or 4 stops against one of the top offenses. Huge O-line, D-line getting crazy pressure. I was excited.
So who are the Texas commits that you're closest to?
Commits, probably the Shug, the other D lineman.
Yep. Y'all kind of hit it off on the official visit, right? Because y'all didn't know each other before then, right? Okay. So what is it you like? I'm sure you've watched him on Huddle, right?
Yes, sir.
What did you like about Josiah Sharma's game?
I mean, he's huge, strong, and can actually move. I think that'd be fun to play with. You know, another big guy that can move. He's just so big and dominant. Like you gotta double him.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's what you want to be with. You know, the people that can be doubled. You know, that just helps create a dominant D lineman.
What about your relationship with Kenny Baker? Obviously, what have you seen that you like from Kenny this year in that relationship?
His knowledge on the game is huge. I mean, just like watching film with him, like he's so quick to point out, you know, what you did wrong, what you did right. Really got like a keen eye. Just coaching style. I mean, like he's so hands-on. You know, he'll get down and do it with you. You know, he's younger. He can move around. He has so much experience in this game, coming from the NFL, being around a phenomenal D lineman, and I mean, just the way he brings it to college.
Yeah. And you graduate from here in December. You'll enroll in Austin in January. Kind of, what are your goals early on at Texas?
I mean, get there, compete. Obviously, the goal is to play early. I'm excited.
Yeah. Where do you think? What are a couple areas you feel like you need to improve? That like spring practice is going to be really big for you, trying to break onto the field next year as a freshman.
Really everything. I mean, yeah, everything. Like including weight room wise, like shaping up everything. Field wise, you know, pass rush, bull rushing, reading coverage. Not bull rushing, but run stopping, reading coverage, just everything.
Yeah. All right. That is Myron Charles, 4-star plus defensive lineman, Port Charlotte, Texas commitment.